What in the heck is going on in California? If I didn't have such an aversion for swearing, I would use a different word than heck, which begins with F. Now, I chose the title on purpose. It goes both ways. Good conservatives, students of Thomas Sowell, we understand there's trade offs to everything. Some great news, some terrible news. We're going to get into it. This is The Ordinary American. I'm your host, Paul Sarkis. This show is anti leftist, which means we are anti Democrat. If you were voting for Democrats, A, you're either retarded or you're in on the scam, but you're also breaking yourself into jail and breaking others into jail. Now, if you're somebody with enough money that you can throw money at the problems and the suffering that the Democrats create, then I guess good for you. But when you do that, you're leaving the people who can't afford to throw money at those problems to suffer even more. I bring up all the time, Sergey Brin spent tens of millions to destroy California by making it 100% controlled by Democrats. And what does he do? He ups and leaves. Okay? Not okay. Not okay. All right, I don't say it anymore. I used to say every day we're the anti-leftist, anti-Democrat show. I have not been saying it every day recently. And maybe I should go back at it. I mean, last night was a great example. We're going to get into, there's so much to go through about the California election, both from the LA mayor's point of view, which we cover extensively here, because it's a proxy for what's going on in the country, but the whole state. We're going to go into a lot of that from different angles. I think I got a couple of different perspectives that maybe you're not going to hear everywhere else. We're also going to get to some Scott Bessent. The man, no one's enjoying working for Trump more than this guy. Okay, he is sometimes feels like he's laughing. He's enjoying it so much. We're going to get into two clips from him, and we're also going to do some more on the medical. You know, I try to do an awful lot, considering an awful lot on medical things, because the left needs us unhealthy mentally, physically, and spiritually. We have Forgiveness Friday. At the end of every show, I talk about the great Father Mike Schmitz. He says, I'm praying for you. Hopefully you'll pray for me. I try to mention that. That's the spiritual part. The greatest life hack of all time, find a relationship with God. Okay, but there's the physical and there's the mental, and that goes to health. What is going on in the health world? Now, maybe it's just because Maha is gaining traction and we're finding out more things, but we talked about it the other day. We got the people at Google, a tech company, who have somehow genetically engineered mosquitoes that they want to unleash to get rid of what deadly virus that's destroying the country. I don't know, but we've seen this go bad. We now got a new thing with some guy coming in with monkeypox. We're going to get into some of that too, because it's crazy important, and we're going to do a little bit, I think, on more of the cover up on COVID. All right. By the way, I'm going to hopefully have some changes. I got these sort of fancy remote mics. I don't like the sound on the show. I'm going to try to get these going for tomorrow to improve the sound. The camera I got to work on too. It's a little, I don't know. I don't love it. I'd love to hear your comments. The Ordinary American at proton.me, or I'm on the X at The Ord American. And we're going to try to make some upgrades. And if everything goes well tomorrow, haircut before the show and teeth cleaning. Get back to the medical. Haircut's not really medical, but you got to feel good. I try to go about 2 months without a haircut. It's about that time. And then dental cleaning. It's one of the best bangs for the buck, in my opinion, in the desire and the program to stay healthy. And I'm going to go get that done tomorrow. All right, let's get into it. So what happened yesterday? LA had the election for mayor. Spencer Pratt, as everybody knows, I'm a huge Spencer Pratt promoter and booster and supporter. I used to live in LA. By the way, I don't know the guy, never talked to him. I don't get anything other than a better country if he gets in the mayor's office. I don't care that he doesn't have experience. I'm an athlete. I love sports. I never heard a team say, hey, I know this quarterback sucks and been around for a long time, sucked for a long time. Everywhere he went, sucked. But we're going to give him top dollar and bring him in because he's got a lot of experience. We aren't going to take the young guy who's done great at other things, has a strong point of view, and is saying and doing all the right things, testing really well. He's really got some good ideas. We're not going to bring him in. That doesn't go on. Why? Because in sports, you got to win. Spencer Pratt may have no experience running a city. He certainly runs some kind of businesses. He was a producer of some shows, I think. Then he had his crystals and his hummingbirds. He's certainly been managing what I would call a public-facing campaign by bringing attention to the fire situation. So what he does have that Bass does not have is how to connect with the public, which is incredibly important. You see that from Trump. So I'm not hung up on all that experience nonsense. What I do see in California, two things, and we're going to vacillate between the mayor's race and the state. California is no longer a blue state exclusively. That's the good news. We're going to get into it. No longer. Here's the bad news. How on earth does Rahman and Bass, between the two of them, get 50% of the vote in Los Angeles? Who are these people? We're going to get into whether it's corrupt. It's obviously corrupt. Spoiler alert. But who are these people that are voting for this? Just watch the pictures. The poop everywhere, the drug addicts, the fentanyl zombies, the burning down of the communities, the rebuilding not going so great. I think there's single digits or maybe tens of houses that are being rebuilt long after a year since the fires. Okay, who's voting for these people? Are these people, I always say, if you're voting for Bass or Rahman over Pratt, you're either retarded or you're in on the scams. They're in on the scams, mean you got a nonprofit, you work for the city, you work for the state, somebody in your family does, you got a contract, something. You're getting some kind of a grift off of the city or the state. The retarded part is this. You hate Trump, maybe? You think he's associated with Trump because he's a Republican, technically? He's not really a Republican. I don't hear, a lot of conservative studying going on. I hear common sense from him, but not much more than that. But how are people voting for these people? I mean, it is, the truth is, maybe they're not, okay? But they're getting some votes. We're going to start to go through and analyze some of this stuff. Here's another perspective that I had thought of one half of this, but not the other until somebody mentioned it to me. Sergey Brin, all the tech bros, all the people who can throw money at the problem, they're leaving. There's a mass exodus out of California and out of LA. I think 500,000 people have left LA and more every day. It's a huge exodus, okay? What does that tell us? Well, it tells us nobody likes those policies. As I say all the time, if the Democrat policies worked, people would be flocking to LA and to California, not leaving. Why? Because they'd be working. People don't leave great cities in mass. They might have to move for a job or something, but if it's going great, as Adam Kroll I shared yesterday, his whole life growing up, nobody left LA. Why? Because it was great. Who would leave? He said something like, where would I go? What would I leave LA for? The beach and the mountains, and I can ski and I can hike, and I have awesome stuff and businesses and entertainment and all these things. Where would I go? People leave when it sucks, okay? California has been sucking, so people have been leaving. On the one hand, that's great because that sends out the message to the world that those policies aren't working. However, that removes people who think the place sucks. So part of me says that the people who remain would be way blue and lefty. But that's not what we're seeing in the voting. What we're seeing is not only are they people who are leaving, who presumably that's their vote if they had to, but then the people who stayed also think the place sucks. I mean, that's a little bit of a brain fart for me to wrap my arms around, because on the one hand, maybe the reason why I'm so perplexed by anybody voting for these buffoons is because many of the people who would vote against them left. But then I look at Steve Hilton, who's winning the primary. It's a jungle, I've been through this before. It's a jungle primary, California, another scam. Once they got full control and single party control, they changed the primary from being a Republican Democrat to being the top two vote getters, because they figured, well, that would make it easier for us because we'll get through the primary and then we're just one party and that's it. And we would be able to shove down the Republican Party over time, which worked. The fly in that ointment is this. What happens if things get bad enough? The title of yesterday's show, is it bad enough? Is it bad enough yet? Well, maybe, because Steve Hilton's now winning. So Steve Hilton's going to win. And by the way, that doesn't include the whatever, I think it was about 12% that the sheriff there, Bianco, was getting. Presumably that goes into Hilton's percentage. And if I remember correctly, that would have put Hilton at close to 44, 45% of the vote. That is massive. That goes back to the very first point I made today. California is no longer exclusively a blue state. This has major implications for 2028. Why? Because for 20 years, basically, the Democrats have not had to spend a dime of money during a presidential race to win California. That meant a lot of money can be spent elsewhere. I am beginning to think with this type of an election, it is possible that the Democrats are going to have to focus and spend on California for the first time. And that would be unbelievably good for everybody. Why? Well, because they have to spend money and resources, and that drains it from other places. But two, because they don't have any message. What's the message? I showed some clips from idiot Mussolini yesterday. What's his message? He does all this double, triple, quadruple talk. Well, we understand why people are angry, and lots of progress has been going on, and we've really cleaned things up, but we see that they haven't seen the progress, and so we've got to clean it up more. But we've done so much, and I've taken it down to record levels. It's all over the place. There's no record. I mean, there's no positive record. Okay? So California pluses and minuses. I want to play a couple of clips. I'm going to start with this one. This is the Democrats. This is just sort of an example. It's obviously corrupt, okay? Obviously. They do this same scam every single time. What's the scam? Red is ahead or red doing well, and over the weeks that they count more votes, what ends up happening? Oops, the blue takes over. Just watch this.
Remember, the final piece of the puzzle that we won't know tonight, right, is the late arriving vote by...
That we won't know tonight. Why not? It's California, Silicon Valley, AI, Apple, Google, okay, the smart people. Why do the smart people who've been pontificating and educating the rest of us, sarcasm alert, at how great and how smart they are, who then had to leave the state that they created single party rule in, why can't they count votes? Florida gets theirs counted in a couple of hours after closing. They're talking about weeks.
Mail. And we're talking about probably like a third of the vote in Los Angeles. We're probably not going to be getting until tomorrow and maybe days to come after tomorrow. The mail can still come in after Election Day. And there's indications, and there's certainly a ton of precedent here, that late arriving vote by mail is going to be significantly more Democratic friendly than all of the other vote, meaning that would be good news for Bass. Right. That would be good news for Rahman. If she's going to come out of tonight behind Pratt, it's a huge if, but if she's going to come out of tonight behind Pratt, well, it's not a huge if at this point, she would then have that opportunity if she's close enough to catch him with that. But that is a 25,000 vote pad there. 8 percentage points that Pratt has managed to build.
Okay, 8 percentage points. That's big. That's not too big to rig, but it's big. But you see what he's saying there? It's like everybody goes along with this story. You know, one of the lessons or messages that we got from the communists once they broke out of communism behind the Iron Curtain. Solzhenitsyn wrote about this, a lot of others. That the problem really was that nobody spoke up. Everybody sort of agreed. The sort of famous phrase is, we pretended to work and they pretended to pay us. Everybody just pretended. It's all a pretend, okay? That's what this is. This is all pretend. This is nonsense. They should be able to count the vote. Why aren't they counting the vote? Obviously, because they need to find that 8%. What did I read? 91% of the vote they expect to be mail-in ballots. Guys, who is falling for this stuff? Well, I guess a lot of people. This is over and over. We see this. Now, here's the next thing I want to bring up because it shows this. So one of the things we saw in 2024, actually 2020, was we saw how the votes would change over the course of the night and then the day. And one of the ways they would change is that Biden would go up and Trump would either go down or would not move. Well, look at this. This is one tally, 170,579. Then the next tally is 130,429. Oh, okay. She went up. But Spencer Pratt had 86,323 and then 86,323. That's the same number, right? I'm reading that right. Okay. And Rahman, she went up. And even Adam Miller, he went up. So Spencer Pratt was the only one of those four that when they counted more votes, they counted 0 votes in that new count. Well, we're supposed to believe that. Talk about pretending. 0 votes. That's not real. That's not a thing. Okay, there's not 0 votes. Somebody votes for Pratt. So when these mail-in ballots come in, what they need to find is if they have to pretend to be legit, which they're not, they got to find enough votes for Pratt that it sounds reasonable, but more for Rahman so they can get her over the hump, and so it can be the 2 Democrats in the finale. I don't know. It is just, this is the disheartening part. Look at those numbers. How is it that Pratt gets 0 votes in some kind of account? I've never seen that. I mean, and they want us to believe this stuff. Okay. Now, I'm going to try to balance good and bad. Okay. There's been a huge, this gets back to the point at the beginning, it's no longer just a blue state. It is a huge advantage that the Democrats, where is it?
What we do know, LA voter registration numbers are only moving in one direction, and it isn't towards Democrats. GOP registration's up 14% since 2022. Dems, less than 0.5%. Even Beverly Hills, the young voters who were supposed to be a lock, they're swinging to Republicans by double digits. Pratt's slashing message has landed everywhere, even in Hollywood. Half the city's ash, the other half's naked in the
All right. Point being that if you register Republican in a race like this, it is highly likely you're going to be voting for Pratt. Okay? Gets back to my comment. Where are these votes coming from, these other people? That was over 100,000 votes going the other way. By the way, little side note. Why are there so few votes that have been tallied? I mean, I didn't bring the numbers up, but it was a very small percentage, very low turnout. I don't think this is a low turnout race. There's way too much social and the AI ads and videos. Low turnout? I don't believe it. Okay, I don't believe it. Pluses and minuses over there. Okay, great news. California is no longer solely a blue state, and maybe this is going to have a ripple effect through till 28, and they'll have to spend some time and money there. Okay, but the bad news is that over 50% of the people still voted for somebody other than Pratt, so they voted to keep the same leadership in place. What in the heck is that all about? Who are these retards that live in that community that say, no, we can take some more? Okay? That is some sick stuff. That to me, my daughter's a lifeguard, and she's going through lifeguard training. They teach you that you grab the person from behind and you're trying to make it, and you put them on their back so that they can't grab you because they'll take you under. That's what a drowning person does without knowing it. That's what that seems like. The voters who are voting for these Democrats, they're taking everybody else down with them. I mean, I don't know. How long can this go on? I don't know. When it gets bad enough. The great Dan Bongino, that's where I got the title yesterday. He talks about it. Dinkins won the first time Giuliani ran against him. Then he lost once it got super bad. Okay. Now, the great Joel Pollak, if you don't know Joel Pollak, he is a writer at, I think it's at Breitbart, or he was. Now it looks like he's doing some other writing. So he did this article. Let me see if I can get it up here for you guys. Okay. And I'm going to blow it up because I want you to see this. 4 surprises. I can't get it to blow up. Okay. No. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. Got to see me in the ocean there. All right. Here's the first one. California rejects new taxes. This is critical. In San Diego, early results showed voters rejecting Measure A. I don't know Measure A, but it's about taxes. They explained it here. 58 to 42. That's a massive margin. In San Francisco, voters appeared to be rejecting Measure D, 55 to 45, a massive margin. In LA, it was a little different, and it was the county returns. By the way, LA County is different than LA the city. Obviously, the county is bigger. LA County early returns suggested that voters were rejecting Measure ER, 53 to 47. That's tighter, but that's not a close race. Okay? Why do I think that that's important? I think that's important because it gets back to the blue-red thing. The Democrats in California do this scam all the time. Here's the scam. We're going to put a referendum question up. Oh, why? Because we have a democracy and we let the voters have their say. No, they don't. How can I say that? Because it's all been rigged. The voters in California voted in the 90s to get rid of affirmative action. They're still applying affirmative action, DEI, in the university system in California. It was actually not just a referendum question. It was a referendum question that changed the Constitution that says race can't be used. And yet they're still doing it. Why? Because they don't care what the voter says. Okay? They put these tax measures on so that they can say, see, it went to a vote and we won. And then that gives them free rein to essentially do whatever they want. And when they don't get what they want, they do it anyways. I just gave you the affirmative action example. Here's another one. Gay marriage. It was voted down, and one unelected judge in a black robe made it law. They don't care. This is the scam. We'll put it on the referendum, and if the voters vote for it, great. And we'll say, democracy and the voters gave us the power to do it. And by the way, wink, 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 we'll corrupt the election, so we'll get the result we want. They couldn't do it. Okay? In those 3 cities, why do I think those 3 cities are important? I showed it a few weeks ago. I'll probably do another visual analysis of California here in the blue-red thing and all of the states. California, if you look at an analysis of counties, is extremely red. The only place it's really blue is a little bit around Sacramento and then straight down the coast, San Francisco, California, and San Diego. So in those 3 blue strongholds, major tax proposals were wiped out. So what Joel Pollak is reporting there is that's a major defeat. That gets to the blue-red thing. Okay? I'm going to go back to the article. I want to go down because that is a huge thing. I'm going to go through. That's the biggest thing in my opinion. This one's funny. Tom Steyer. Okay, this guy, he spent $200 million to try to become governor, and he didn't come close. Okay, what does it say here? Steyer's career total spending on failed political causes is close to $1 billion. This guy is sad. That's one of the biggest losers. He is paying people to give him power. He is the biggest try-hard in the history of humankind. He is throwing money at people. He is telling every lefty what they want to hear. Oh, you boy who wants to be a girl, you should win all the races. He's absolutely embarrassing himself. And he's stumbling all over himself to grab power. Good for California not to put him in power. The founding fathers wrote about this. The people who will seek power the most in this free society that we're creating, founding fathers, are the people you'd least want to have that power. This is the poster child for that. Total, complete try-hard. Okay? By the way, try-hard is not a phrase that I grew up with. We had teacher's pet, things like that. Try-hard is something I learned from my daughter. But this guy is the tryhard of the century. Sad to see. I mean, he must just, I mean, being around this guy, he's paying people to be his friend, basically. I mean, you made $1 billion or more, 5 billion or whatever it is. Enjoy yourself. Try to find what you really stand for instead of trying to buy power. Just sad. Okay. This is the Palisades fire pushback. This has to do with there's somebody who's running for a lower office. The state Senate, who was big and they're winning. So that's good. A little less important for my purposes, but really good. Joel Pollak lives there. I think this is probably pretty important. Kevin Kiley may beat Prop 50. So Newsom does again, the gerrymandering, fine, and Kevin Kiley loses his district. He runs anyways. He runs as an independent, and it looks like he's going to win and put Republican primary. There's going to be a Republican who's in second place, and it's going to be Kiley in first place. This is important because that is sort of showing that just because you change it around, you didn't get the outcome you wanted. They wanted no Republicans. It gets back to the blue-red situation. Okay? It's a great article. It's up on my X stack, The Ord American at proton.me. The Ordinary American at proton.me is the email. Send me comments there, requests, things like that, follow-ups. The Ord American on X, and X operates as my show notes. So everything we go over here will be there. Okay. All right. So California, it is a mixed bag. I would say mostly a good bag. Okay, mostly, but it is alarming and perplexing that these people are continuing to vote for this absolute nonsense. Okay, Californians, guys, you got to wake up. If you're still voting Democrat, I mean, the premise of this show is we're trying to take people away from the Democrats by waking them up. They don't like you. They want to hurt you. They don't care about your community. If they cared about your community, Bass would have fixed it. She's been in office for 3.5 years. She has total control of the city because the city is all Democrat. There are no Republicans in control in LA. If the Democrat policies worked great, they'd be working. They are not. If you think that suddenly she's going to clean up the poop around your local park, or get rid of the drug addicts and the zombies, or fix housing or anything, you are dreaming. Stop falling for this stuff. Okay? Trump is not your enemy. You've been convinced, this brainwashing. Oh, he's the devil. He is not the devil. Okay? The devil is the woman who's in charge of your city, that single party rule, who has destroyed one of the great cities in the world not too long ago. It's wake up. All right, we're gonna jump here to something I'm really beginning to love the work of this guy, Scott Bessent, the bomber. That's what I'm going to call him from now. Bessent the bomber. Okay, this guy. Look, not only do you got to listen to his words here, okay, because he just goes off, but you got to look at the face on him. He's excited. This is before he says what he says, which you're going to see in a second. Look at him. He's giddy. He can practically, when my daughter was doing plays in her earlier years, she was the kid who memorized everybody's line, and the teacher always needed somebody like that. But she would be mouthing the words that the other person was supposed to be saying. And so, she would be sort of giddy, like, I know what's coming next. That's what this guy looks like. He knows what's coming next. Watch this.
Senator Wyden has mendaciously slandered the Treasury building in an attempt to cover up his son having an investment meeting with Jeffrey Epstein to ask for funding.
Oh, yeah. Make notes. Why? Like, you have to write that down because you won't be able to remember what just went on.
Thank you.
Chairman?
Gonna watch it.
Yes.
Let's be clear here.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Nobody is interested in the ramblings of a capo in the most corrupt regime in American history, We want to get some facts
Ooh.
about this deal. That's what we're here for.
Ooh.
Thank you.
Ooh.
Well, thank you, and I will ask my questions first today.
And we would like to hear what Adam Wyden and Jeffrey Epstein talked about. Your son's largest investment position was Rick's Cabaret. So did your son and Jeffrey Epstein talk about pole dancing as he begged him for money using your limited credibility?
I mean, come on. I mean, this guy is having a ball. He is having a ball. Is that the United States Senate? That's the United States Senate that he just did that in. I love it. That's what we need to be doing. We need to be calling these people out. No more pretending like everybody's above it all and I'm so proper and I'll like the English when they wear the wigs in Parliament. No. This is what it is. Call them out. And by the way, Wyden, bro, I hope you get a hold of your health. I'm rooting for you. I don't want anybody to be sick, but you don't look good. Okay. That's one Bessent comment. Now here's another one. This is a little bit more on the topic of his job and the job of the Trump administration, but I want to play it because I think it's important. Let me see if I can get it up. Okay, here we go. Listen to this.
Tax cuts and deregulation would be substantial. Taken together, they are transformative. Before President Trump took office, our trading partners exploited America's markets, our regulatory states smothered businesses, and our tax code was poised to punish workers and job creators. Today, his policies are driving lower taxes, bigger paychecks, and broader prosperity.
Bam. Okay? Saying it like it is. We've been over through his speech the other day at the Reagan Foundation, the American system, and all of the great things that have been going on with manufacturing, with jobs. To the bros in LA, you can have a city again where people are moving there, where it's awesome the way it used to be, and it can happen fairly quickly. All you have to do is be able to get rid of your TDS. Okay, Bessent is a stud. He's doing an amazing job, and he's saying it like he is, and he's loving doing it, and I love that. All right, now I want to get to some medical stuff. Again, from the beginning, it is so important that we stay healthy from a medical standpoint, physical, mental, spiritual, because the left wants us sick. Okay, we now know categorically, and we'll get into this in a second, that COVID was an op. Okay, they orchestrated COVID. It was never ready. It was never designed to stop the spread of the disease. It was designed to infect people who took it with the spike protein that seems to be doing terrible damage. Okay, I've been through this before. Girls are losing, 30% of their eggs. It's already hard enough sometimes to get pregnant, but now you've got a 30% loss of your eggs. It is a terrible situation. We're now finding out, as I've played in the past, the clips, the CIA knew about the anti-parasitic drugs being effective on cancer from the 50s because they discovered when they were spying on Russia that they were working on that. By the way, why were the Russians working on that? Because they wanted to keep their workers working more hours. If they stay healthy and don't get sick, you can work them to the bone. That was their plan. It's an evil plan. But you can see the motivation. Oh, we want to keep them healthy. So they found out that antiparasitics, ivermectin, etc., keep people healthy. And then we've been looking at we talked about at the beginning, the Google with these mosquitoes, or Gates with all of his craziness, with this obsession with vaccines. I am not playing it today, but I will play it probably tomorrow. There's enough studies now that when you plug in all these studies around the vaccines causing autism, all of the AIs say it's definitive. Autism was caused by the vaccines. And what's worse, the vaccine companies knew it. At some point, I think the lawsuits are going to start. All right, what is this? This is a story of, there's a guy who's the head at the FDA of the Ebola task force, and he got caught bringing in monkeypox virus. Listen to this thing.
Yeah, this is another shocking story. So an NIH virologist, an Ebola expert, He literally goes in the Congo often. He has field sites in the Congo to catch Ebola from wild animals. And so he was caught at a U.S. airport earlier this year with undeclared biological samples, what are called select agents that appear to be, we know for sure, monkeypox, but as well, there could be other pathogens. There could be Ebola because we know he works with Ebola. He was caught at the airport, and this man, Vincent Munster, was linked or actually was actively involved in gain of function activities with SARS-CoV-2, with Fauci and colleagues. So you can't even make this up.
Well, the title of the show, What the Heck is Going On in California? We could easily say it here. What the heck is going on with all of this biological craziness that people are trying to do here? Why is Gates trying to kill everybody? Why is Google trying to create mosquitoes that are genetically engineered to do something? There's nothing that could go wrong with that. Here's a litmus test for everybody involved in any of these things. If the actual headline, Google has engineered mosquitoes to try to defeat something, if that could also be the heading or the subtext of a horror movie, it's probably a bad idea. What is going on? The Ebola guy gets caught coming back into the country with monkeypox and other viruses. Why are they doing that? Why is he still working for the FDA? What is people's obsession with this stuff? Stop hurting other people. And by the way, where are the conservatives that are doing this? Where are the conservatives who think they have to kill everybody? Where are the conservatives that want to do gain of function? Like, that's a great idea. Let me see. I'm going to take a virus and I'm going to try to make it so deadly that it's going to kill a lot of people, but I'll be able to control it. Again, if it will make a great subtitle for a horror movie, it's probably a bad idea. I mean, it is infuriating and scary that these people are in positions of power. All right, one more on the medical front. This gets back to the COVID stuff. I'm going to play as much of this COVID stuff as I can over time, because I still remember when they tried to tell us that COVID was a real disease and that it came from, mixing, a pangolin with a panda bear or something in some oatmeal, and somebody just caught it. Oops, what happened? That's not what happened. They made it, okay? They made it, and they tried to make it deadly. By the way, they failed. It wasn't deadly, but that wasn't for lack of trying. As my mom used to say, it's the thought that counts. They were thinking to try to hurt people. Now, as it also turns out, the antiparasitic drugs really worked against it. How do we know that? Because when you Google up a map or go into AI and search a map and you say, where was COVID least prevalent? In Africa. Why? Because ivermectin is used in Africa extensively for antiparasitic purposes. So people were sort of already, I don't think inoculated is the right word, but they had a defense against it. And by the way, which I'll attack at the end, the things I talk about on here, most of them I do myself. I'm the guinea pig. I take ivermectin. I have my daughter take ivermectin. I have my wife take ivermectin. Okay, why? Because parasites aren't good. Because it has a lot of anti-cancer benefits. And it's been proven over millions and millions and millions of doses to be very safe. All right, we'll get to that in a second. All right, let's play this.
Very disturbing. In fact, what Senator Ron Johnson and his team uncovered was that the FDA literally buried 25 safety signals with the COVID shots in 2021, including sudden cardiac death, brain clots, pulmonary infarction, cardiac failure, heart attacks, etc. An FDA staffer, our chief scientist, actually developed a new way to analyze adverse events in the vaccine adverse event reporting system. And her new way destroyed the limitation of what's called masking to give you a more accurate representation and find the true safety signals. And she presented that method and the safety signals to FDA leadership. They ordered her to cease and desist. And they said her work was a distraction. While millions were getting the shots, millions. And they buried this. It's very unfortunate.
Yeah, very unfortunate, I would say. That's the least of it, unfortunate. It killed people. It killed people. We see, but when I was growing up, there weren't videos, dozens of videos of soccer players and other athletes collapsing on the field, or people on a news show collapsing on screen. I never saw any of that. That was only after the COVID vaccine. Again, what is going on? What is people's obsession with trying to kill other people? This is part of us all waking up. The leftists have wanted to kill a lot of people for a long time, and they've done it. Okay? I mentioned I take ivermectin. I'm not a doctor. I'm a guy with a great flag. I love my God, my family, and my country. I turn on the camera because I'm trying to do my part to bring news to as many people as I can to wake them up. The news media, I think it was less than 20% approval rating or belief in the news media. So that means there's a big amount of replacement we have to do over time by getting stuff out there. I am not fair and balanced. I am not looking to, I don't have to make the case for the Democrats. Bass, she can make the case for her stupid policies all she wants. Mussolini, he can go out and say, oh, we've really limited homelessness. Excuse me? Okay? They can do that. I'm about the truth. The truth is something's been going on in the medical world. They've been doing gain of function research. They lied about it. The government participated. Thank goodness for RFK Jr. He's in there. And by the way, I didn't necessarily think he would last this long in the Trump administration. I imagine those are two very strong personalities. And, they might not have got along. I don't think he's going to last full 4 years, but he's doing a great job and they are getting along. So good for both of them, because this is an important, the medical side is an important topic. And the things that I mentioned ivermectin, mebendazole. By the way, I'm about to do a mebendazole antiparasitic treatment here shortly. I think the protocol is, it's 500 milligrams one time. Okay, I'll look it up. I'll try to post it on the X. I'm going to do that. I use ozone. I have my own ozone generator. I do ozone in various different ways in my water and other ways. Okay, reach out to me, theordinaryamerican@proton.me. Ozone has been proven effective in huge numbers of diseases, everything from cancers to herpes to Lyme's disease to, I'm trying to think of some of the other things. I found it years ago. By the way, it's been around for 130 years or something. They used to use ozone treatment before antibiotics, but antibiotics work better. But it doesn't mean that ozone doesn't work, and it's safe. Okay, so these are the things I use. I use peptides. I haven't talked a ton about peptides. I've been experimenting on myself for years. I'm not an early adopter. There's way earlier adopters, people like Ben Greenfield and others who I watched and listened to before I jumped in, but I'm trying to share it now. So some of these medical things that I talk about, I want to get out that I do it. Okay, so I'm not, and I'll certainly mention when I don't do it, but I do it. I did not take the vaccine. I did not have our daughter take the vaccine. Did not, never would. Okay, and I'm thrilled about that. I wouldn't have her take a vaccine or me now ever again. Why? Because there's something like what Trump just the other day took off something like 50 or 55 of the 72 vaccines on the vaccine list. I did a whole episode on this a while ago. That's important because the immunity, I think, is tied to what's on that list. So you're going to see now that the pharmaceutical companies don't have the congressional granted immunity. You're going to see them, I suspect, stop offering those vaccines. If they were so good, they would offer them. They wouldn't need the immunity. You only need the immunity because they're not good, and they knew this. All right. Went a little longer than usual today. The Ordinary American, I'm your host, Paul Sarkis. Please like, subscribe, follow, leave comments. This all helps the algorithm, which gets us more play, which gets the word out, which hopefully means we can convince other people to stop voting Democrat. Send these videos, send my link to your cousins, your father, your daughter, your son, your wife, whoever, your coworker. If you've got an annoying Democrat coworker, send me to him. I'll take it on. As I think I said one day this week, I grew up and worked in Massachusetts, spent almost 20 years in Los Angeles, and spent a lot of time in Hawaii. I've been around Democrats my whole life. it doesn't bother me. I can have a great relationship with them. Most of my friends are Democrats. Fine with me. The ones who couldn't stand being in a relationship and a friendship with a conservative, they hit the road. Oh well. Okay. Pass this around. All right. We'll be back here tomorrow, 2 p.m. New haircut, clean teeth. As the great Father Mike Schmidt says, I'm praying for you. Please pray for me. I'm rooting for